Like last video for chapter 6. Like yay. Uh, so in this toward the back of the chapter, it talks about some of the different elements like troubleshooting CSS, as well as some of the positioning configurations you can do using CSS based on how the browser renders the code. Also talks about the HTML5 shim, and this is a I would say code, basically a workaround for browsers that are older than Internet Explorer 9. So if someone happens to view your website in an older version browser, then they'll be able to get the same effect that they would get if through a website if it or a web browser that does support HTML5. So so I think it's on page 276 in your book. It talks about the different positionings you can do with CSS. So it talks about static position. Static position is exactly how you have it written in the code. So, like I said, we're talking about normal flow a little bit earlier in the chapter. It talks about how the browser reads your code line by line. So that's what they call static positioning. Now, fixed positioning is exactly what it says it is. Basically, it actually, no matter where it is, if you have one component or your opponent set to fix, that part does not move. A lot this is position is used a lot for menus or navigation bars, because if it's the navigation bar or the menu is fixed at the fixed position, when a person scrolls up and down the page, the the menu actually stays in the same location. So you'll still have access to that menu no matter how far you drag down or scroll down to the page. And relative positioning, it's just based on where the other components next to it actually are based or where they're located. So if you have a picture on one side and I kind of want text relative to my picture, then the browser actually figure out where okay, exactly where, based on the location of the image, where to put your text. And then you also have absolute, and this is absolute. It's configured by the element that's actually outside of normal flow. So you may, in your code, you may have a component or element that is, we have a div that's or a paragraph that may be in one location, but you want to actually but you want it to come up first for the web browser to read to come first, and we have a little bit further down the code, make a little bit further down in your actual code itself. So the browser actually go up. Okay, they want this to be read first or rendered first. I render this first and then come back and render the page, or come back and render the picture or the other elements a little bit later. So that's what I mean by some like the different positionings. And in your chapter 6 folder, there are I think it's like 3 files in there that actually give you really good examples of what's the difference between the four. Um, so I highly recommend playing with that. And I also want to talk about as we were going through in class, and something we run into some issues with, our CSS. Uh, there are many ways that you can actually debug your CSS, so it make it easier to find exactly where your errors are. Of course, we go through the validation, we do our validation. That's one way of actually figuring out debugging your code. Also, you can use I think we used borders in class. So we were trying to figure out, we did our 2-column layout. We actually put borders around it so we can actually each component or each element, so we can actually see exactly where each component was, how the browser was laying out every component. And you can also just change, the background color or the colors, so you can actually see exactly how things are lining up and see if they're working. And probably the most popular one is to just comment the code out, to comment the trouble code out, and see if it still works, or see if the page works without that particular line of code in there. Let me see. Yes, let me open up my chapter 6 real quick, my chapter 6 folder. Right here. Chapter 6, yeah, there it is. And I'm just going to play with just one of these things. Let's play with... Let's play with starter 3. Yes, let's play. So open up. You're in your chapter 6 folder. You should have a starter3.html file in there. We're going to actually play with this one, so I can actually show you about the HT. I talked about some other stuff like SIM, as well as troubleshooting. Some things you can do to actually troubleshoot your code. So I'm going to open up my starter3 file in Notepad. So we'll come up here, go to my open with, go to Notepad. Nice. Okay, so here it is. Alright, so I have my nice little code here. Yes, we talked about, so we talked in another video, we talked about, our pseudo classes for our CSS. Okay, yeah, so okay, sweet. Alright, so if you want, so let's say for example you have some code code that's giving you some issues. Say for example it may be the menu. Yeah, the menu may not be floating to the right. Well, you can actually comment that code out. So when the browser reads it, the code will still be inside of, or that line will still be inside of your code, but when the browser goes to read it, it doesn't see it. So it actually won't render that particular line of code. So in CSS, it's a little bit different when doing a comment for in CSS than it is from HTML. So since I'm gonna play with that float right, let me bring it down a little bit. Yeah, so for the float right so to make comments in CSS, and I think I maybe talked about a little bit I think in class, but not a lot, is that you're going to do your /, then you're going to do your $, your plus sign, your star. There you go. But it says star, and then at the end of it, the last part of your, or the ending part of your comment, you're going to do your star, your star again, and then you're going to do another backslash. So that's //, yeah, //. So it's basically it's basically sandwiched in between those the / and the star. So if I were to bring this up, so if I were to now save this file and bring it up into my web browser, that menu or that nav bar would no longer be floating to the right. More than likely, it'll probably go back to the left. Yeah, so let me save this real quick. Save. And I'm going to just come back here and open up from my File Explorer. Yeah, so see it went over to the left. So more than likely it was over here on the right someplace. So if I were to, I'm gonna do a split screen real quick. Yeah. So if I comment, so now because we have now if I take out the comment for the float right, so my float right is back in there, and I go to refresh it, and now the menu now moves back to the right, and that's a really good technique to use when you're trying to troubleshoot your CSS to see make sure if everything's working correctly, and so you can actually get an idea. So it also makes your troubleshooting your CSS much faster. So I highly recommend doing that. This file, one of the things I want to talk about is I want to talk about the HTML file sim I mentioned earlier. And like I said, this is basically to a workaround so your older browsers can read um, your web page if it has some HTML5 components in it. And I thought I had it in here. I thought it was actually in here. Nope. Alrighty then. So let me see if I can find one. So let's go back to our chapter 6 folder, and let's see if it is in the 6.1. Yeah, 6.11. In the 6.11 folder in your chapter 6 folder, I think this actually may have it in here. Yes, so we're going to open up. So in our folder 6.11, we're going to open up the index.html file. We're going to open that up in WordPad, or I mean Notepad, so we can actually see the code. But I think this does have it in there, I believe. And it's in the head. It's in the head section or in the head tag. Cause there it is. So this part right here, this code right here, is the HTML5 shim, and it's basically a JavaScript file that allows older users, or sorry, older web browsers to actually interpret HTML5 or the components that are in HTML5. I would like for you to actually put this inside of when you guys have your tests. I want to make sure you actually have this HTML5 sim code, code inside of your document for your test. So when you send it to me, it's going to be part of your test requirement. And so be aware of that. Also, you'll know in here, seeing here too, some are HTML5 sections. Yes, so they added. We talked about, I believe, the aside tag in class when we were playing with our, I think, 3-column. Yeah, 3-column layout. I think it's. We also have one called time now. So that basically helps the web browser interpret the time. The time format. And also have one called article. And yeah, so article is basically text that's in, basically it's a section, like I say, of a web page. So you have, and the section itself, you can think of it as like a div. So you have your we were using divs a while ago. So think of, you have your section as the big div or the overarching div, and you have individual articles inside of the actual div itself. So this, and the wording for these actually came from doing blogs. That's where it came from, because you had a section, you have a page on your blog that's a section, and you have multiple articles that you could actually write on your blog. So that's where those names came from. Yeah, so that's it for chapter 6. If you have any questions, let me know. Yeah, this is what I will do, is I'm going to actually split this video, these chapter 6 videos up into multiple videos, because this is a very long chapter, and I think total, I did maybe like 5 or 6 videos, and a couple of them were over 30 minutes long. So I'm going to split them up so you guys can get to the content much faster. And if you'd like the split up version of the videos, let me know, and I'll actually split them up, each chapter's videos up, so it makes it a little bit easier to grasp the content. Yes, if you have any questions, let me know, and I will see you guys in class.